Hello, I'm Sid. Today we will be implementing Flutter BLoC. Along with that, we will also implement infinite scroll view. Initially, we will be installing these dependencies. Then we will be creating one folder called blocks. We can right click on it and you will be able to see new block. You can get this extension by installing BLoC. So let's right click on it. We will call it users. So we will get all these files and we won't have to manually create them. We will also create one folder called as models. Let's call it user. So we will be fetching the data from an API called mock API. So over here you can create your own users API, and I'll be using this URL in order to fetch the users. So we will be getting the ID, name and avatar. Therefore we will be declaring those variables. So our user class is ready. Then we will also create one repository folder. We will be calling one method. So we will be returning a list of users and it will be asynchronous. We will also pass one query params, so I will explain it to you further. We will also have to import HTTP. So we will be taking this URL from here. And we will also pass query parameters. And we need to convert it to string. So over here we will not have to pass the variables separately. So over here we are passing page and limit. So we can just use query params and we can pass all the values. So I'll explain you how are we going to pass those values in query params in users BLoC file. So right now we're going to make this method asynchronous. So we are getting this data in the format of list, so we need to convert it to a list. will pass the response body. We will also declare one list of users. So we will be iterating through this list. And we need to append each value to the user list. We will be using user.from JSON in order to convert this data, and then we will be storing it in user list. We will put this code in try catch block. In case of error, we will be returning a null value. So there may be a chance that we may get no data in user list. So we will be checking the length of the user list. If it is 0, then we will be returning null. Otherwise, we will return the user list. Now we will create the states. So once we have loaded the users, we will be calling this state loaded users. So we will be returning the list of users when we call this, when we return this loaded users state. Also, we will have to create one error state. So we will be passing one message in our state. Now we will create an event called fetch users. So we will go in users block, and according to the type of event we are going to execute the code. So right now we need to check out the event. We will put this code in try catch block. And we will be declaring few variables. We will need user list. We will also need a page, which we will be passing in the URL, and limit, that is the number of users that we want to fetch every time. And we will also have is loading boolean variable, which will be initially set to false. And once we have called this event, then we will set this is loading to true. And once it is set to true and we call this event again, then we will not be able to execute the code unless and until this code is executed completely. This loading will be set to true, and once it is completed, then we are going to set it to be able to call this event again. So we will be checking it, and we're going to put this entire code in this. We will be setting the is loading to true the moment we start this execution, and once the execution is completed, then we will be setting it back to false. So we will be able to call this event and execute the further code. And in case of error, we will be subtracting the page by minus, because we were not able to fetch the data from that point of time, and we will be returning an error state along with the message. And we will be incrementing it before calling the API. I was talking about this query params, so we have imported this URL query params in order to add our parameter queries, so that we won't have to pass the variables separately. Now we will be getting the data from repository. So we will declare one user list. We need to declare the user repository first. In this get users, we will be passing this query parameters, so we don't have to pass page and limit separately. We can put it in just one instance and access it over here, and then we will be converting it to string. Now we will be checking whether the list is null or not. If it is null, then we will be returning an error. Otherwise, we will return the user list. So we are going to pass the same error, and we are going to decrement the page. And in case we find some values in this list, then we will have to append that in our user list that we have declared on the top. So we are appending the new array list. We are appending the new list into the old list. So now we are appending. If we do get data in list, then we will be appending the new list into the user list. We will use add all in order to append the old list into the new one. And then we will be returning this state called loaded users. So our block is ready. Now we will be creating one widget in order to display all this data. let's call it users. We will be also creating one AppBar. So we will have to declare one users block. So we will be initializing the users block in init state because we need the context. Then we will also pass the event that we are going to call, that is fetch users. Yeah, we need to extend it, so we will be able to call it now. Now we will be creating one block builder. So we will be returning one circular progress indicator. And we will be returning the loaded users. So we will have to check the state first. So if the state is loaded users, then we will be returning one list view builder. Whereas if the state is error state, then we will be displaying one text message. It will be the message that we have passed in error state. list view builder. So we will be returning one list style. In that we will display the avatar and the name of the user. It is up to you whether you want to add a trailing or not. So we have created our list view. Now we will be calling it in the main file. We'll be calling uses block, and we will be passing the widget in child. Let's run this application now. So the application is finally installed in our device. It is showing the list now. So we will just scroll down. So when you're scrolling down, you are not able to see the data. You are not able to scroll ahead. So we need to implement pagination. Therefore, we will be using infinite scroll view now. So we will be putting the lazy loader scroll view outside the list view. So when we reach the end of the page, we are supposed to call the API in order to fetch the further data. So we will use onEndPage. Just like we did in the init state, we will be calling the same event. And we can also provide the offset value. So you can specify at which portion of the screen you want to start fetching the data. So we will give 70. Now let's restart our application. So our application has restarted. So we are able to see the list of the users. Now we will try to scroll down. Now you guys can see it is taking a little bit of time to load, but we are able to scroll ahead. Previously we were getting only 10 users, now we can get many. So that's how we implement Flutter BLoC along with the infinite scroll view. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then please like, subscribe and share the video.